allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Douglas?
Here.
Ms. Hayes? Board is absent. Mr. Format?
Here.
Mrs. Sensi?
Here.
Mr. Thompson?
Here.
Do we have a motion to appoint Jeff Thompson as treasurer tempore to preside over the June 28th, 2022 regular meeting of the Board of Education?
I'll move.
A second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Douglas?
Yes.
Mr. Horvath?
Yes.
Mrs. Sensi?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I move.
Second.
Gene moved. Jeff seconded. For the agenda. Any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Douglas?
Yes.
Mr. Horvath?
Yes.
Mrs. Sensi?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
All right, we did not have anyone registered for public participation, so move to board member reports. Is there anyone wishing to give a report tonight? All right, then we'll move to reports and recommendations of the treasurer.
Yes. Our first item is to approve the transfer from general fund to the debt service fund in the amount of $4,659.11 to fund the interest payment on the LED lease purchase agreement.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Douglas?
Yes?
Mr. Horvath?
Yes.
Mrs. Sensi?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
The next is a request to approve the transfers and advances listed in order for us to properly close the books. The advances from the general fund to the two state and federal grants are a cash flow issue and they will be returned. The transfers are to fund additional activities above the original expected amount.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Douglas?
Yes?
Mr. Horvath?
Yes.
Mrs. Sensi?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
The next is to approve the final appropriation. If I may take just a moment, I'd like to explain that first, there's only two exceptions to the appropriation approved in September. The first is Fund 22 District Agencies that originally had a zero appropriation. We're requesting now based on revenue that it becomes $522.50. And the other is in Fund 584, 504 Student Support Services. It also was initially zero, with the revenue now $8,109.50. With those two exceptions, the appropriations are as presented last September. And I would note that as we're getting ready to close the books for fiscal year end, barring some minor last-minute transactions the last few days of the month, overall, the revenues to the general operating fund were $148,841 greater than originally budgeted and $63,523 greater than was in the May forecast. The expenditures are under by $1,231,418 compared to budget and $1,127,089 compared to the forecast. The primary reason for the underspending is the reduction in the original appropriations of an 8% inflationary growth, which we did not experience. And in fact, we underspent in the purchase service categories by $440,000, and again had varying levels of much less underspending in the other major expense categories. So overall, again, we compare to the original budget, our ending balance is $1,380,259 greater than the original budgeted ending balance, and $685,612 greater than the May forecast. So we're always pleased to be able to report revenues were slightly up and spending was less than appropriate. So having said that, I would ask that the board approve the final appropriations which are necessary to properly close the bill.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Douglas?
Yes.
Mr. Horvath?
Yes.
Mrs. Sensi?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
And as is customary, our fiscal year end begins July 1st, and Ohio law requires that a budget be in place before any dollars can be expended, whether it's for payroll or other necessary expenses. Traditionally, the board has authorized 25% of last year's appropriation as the opening point until the final appropriations were prepared and presented in September. So before you is a recommendation to approve temporary appropriations which equate to 25% of last year's appropriation.
I'll move.
Second.
Any discussion?
Green light's on. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's all right. All right. Do I need to repeat?
Maybe an abbreviated version.
Okay. Overall, this fiscal year, which ends June 30th, revenues were $63,523 greater than the May forecast, and spending was less by $1,127,089, primarily because of premium holiday that we were allowed to take in June, and underspending in purchase services. We did not experience the expected cost increases. So overall, the ending cash balance in the operating fund will be $685,612 greater than we anticipated in the May forecast.
All right, is there any other discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Douglas?
Yes.
Mr. Horvath?
Yes.
Mrs. Sensi?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson? And we've also presented donations that the board has received, asking for your acceptance and approval.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Thank you to all the folks that made some donations to the district. Roll call?
Mr. Douglas?
Yes?
Mr. Horvath?
Yes.
Mrs. Sensi?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Reports of the administrative team.
Yes, a couple brief things. We had discussed, I think, several times about a July board meeting, and I just wanted to bring that up here, that we would not need one in July. One, when I met with Sarah yesterday, she starts the 11th, and to sort of give her a few weeks to get her feet wet, our next board meeting would be August 2nd. Is that agreeable to everybody?
Yes.
And then I want to introduce our new hires this evening. we have Christina Welch at the back. She is our new intervention specialist at North Elementary. She is going to be in our is it MH, MH, right? Cross-categorical classroom. So she's going to be working with some of our more intensive service students, and we're very happy to have her. She comes from Buckeye, correct? And before that, she was at Kingsville Elementary. So she's got some experience with her and did a great job in her final interview with me. And then we have faces that aren't new to us, but they are new to their positions. Doug Baker, I am recommending this evening to be our North Elementary School principal, and Teresa Solar, who has been an intervention specialist in the district for, I think, 16 years, is transitioning into administration in the role of assistant principal. So I'd like to welcome them this evening. And Mrs. Grau has a little report tonight to talk about her service activities with National Junior Honor Society at Madison Middle School. You've got to come up here at the microphone. Nice try.
So my name's Emily Grau. I am the National Junior Honor Society advisor at the middle school. Just wanted to give our year-end report of our service hours. So for this year, this past school year, our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders completed 3,641 hours of service. They're starting to get back. The highest we've ever had is 5,600, a little bit over that. So this is a huge jump since COVID. And they're all starting to get more opportunities. And none of those hours are allowed to be for family members. And so I check all of them, so it's really nice to see them getting out, and they're getting more than they're required. They're supposed to. They're only required to get 2 hours per grading quarter, so it's 8 hours total, and we only had 46 members this year. So for 3,600 hours, that's a lot more they're doing than just the required. And so far this summer, of the students that have turned theirs in, because they have to get 2 hours for the summer as well, we're at 203 hours of service.
Wow. So what kinds of things are they doing?
A lot of beach cleanup, a lot of litter. I know some of them have been going to fast food restaurants in town and asking if they can pick up the cigarettes and the trash and stuff. There's a few that wanted to do it on the road, which I told them no. And then there's a few that want to do other things. They like to do stuff for the schools, so they'll start reaching out to teachers to ask for help getting back to school. So if there's anything that you need students to do, contact me, and I put it out there, and they're pretty quick to jump on stuff. So we currently, going into this year, since the 8th graders moved up to the high school, we are starting this year with 37 members. So.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask you a question? Does the service project have to be in Madison?
No, it doesn't. We have several that do a lot at nursing homes outside of Madison.
Okay.
And then we do a lot of group projects that's above that number that they have to do on their own. So these service projects are just on their own. They can do anywhere for anyone.
Okay.
In fact, one student just did a beach cleanup in Florida. There was a group that was on the beach, and they asked if they could join so they could get their hours. So,
Oh, nice.
like, sure.
While on vacation.
Um,
Thank you.
Mrs. Grau, quick question. Are you going to be making any changes next year as far as, are you working with 2 organizations, or is that premature to say that?
That's not decided. It's not
Okay.
posted.
Okay.
But we are making changes with our NJHS group. We're going to start doing some bigger projects that are more long-term than
Okay.
short-term. That they all have to create their own, and we do group ones each month. But we're going to kind of consolidate those and try to make them a little bit more structured and detailed. It's harder. They might not be real happy with me.
No, but I like that.
But so we're always trying to change things than doing the same things all the time. So we try to do more community outreach rather than service within the school. We try to do more in the community. Student council covers in school. So we'll see.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Yes, you did. And, you know, we're wrapping up year end here. We've been doing lots of interviewing and hiring, and Dave's going to talk a little bit about that, as well as some of our federal programs. Dave?
Yeah, so I'll start off on the financial side. Each year, our district receives federal funds for a variety of what are called entitlement grants. Those are grants that we receive based on our student population and some of the characteristics of our student population. Those funds are loaded in for us to allocate in about mid-June, and they're due by the end of this month, which is Thursday. So that's a big project annually in June. It keeps us very busy. We receive, if you look through the allocations on our form, we're somewhere around $1.3 million in federal funds, which is a lot of money, but in terms of the whole picture financially, it's a relatively small portion. So those are due Thursday. We did just submit those today, so those will be in time, and then we will have what's called a substantially approved date, so we can begin to use those funds on July 1st if we were so inclined. So that process is wrapping up, thankfully. And then Angela mentioned staffing. We have been busy interviewing, and we'll be busy interviewing for a little while now. We interviewed a number of candidates for an assistant principal who is on the agenda this evening. So there's that position, and if approved, that will open up an intervention specialist position, which we will post for and interview. We have a literacy coordinator position for the elementary schools that has been posted. We have interviews beginning tomorrow for that position, and so by our next board meeting, we'll probably have a candidate to bring before you. We're still looking for custodians. Custodians has been one of our harder to fill positions just in the past year or two. So we are looking for custodians. In fact, I believe we have some candidates in the pipeline right now who are going to be hired or be presented for hiring. There are a number of classroom aide positions opening, and we're going to work through some internal movement on those positions and see who internally wants to move within, and then whatever's left after that will be posted out for the community or the world to join our staff. And also we have a librarian here at South Elementary School due to a retirement, so we have a number of applicants who are in the interview process at this point, and we'll have that wrapped up within the next probably 1 to 2 weeks. So that's our current staffing efforts heading into next year.
Okay. Jen, do you have anything this evening? Okay. Well, we are then going to go right into my recommendations this evening. We're asking you to accept the following resignations. The resignation of Shaman Noach, Madison Middle School custodian, effective June 29th, 2022. To accept the resignation of Rachel Barbina, Madison. She's a middle school custodian. We've had a lot of people move around. Effective June 24th, 2022, to accept the resignation of Doug Baker, North Elementary School Assistant Principal, effective June 20, and it's not June 28th, it's the end of the current contract year. I thought I told her that today. Sorry about that. And the same with Teresa Solart, at the end of the current contract year, her resignation as North Elementary School Intervention Specialist. And to accept with regret the retirement resignation of Helen Curtindale, Madison Middle School Library Assistant, effective September 1st, 2022. We're asking you to amend the following: to amend the administrative salary schedule to eliminate the elementary assistant principal and merge with the middle school assistant principal position, resulting in this positions being on the same schedule. To amend the contract of Brian Kramer from 203 days of service to 220 days of service for next school year. To amend the contract of Scott Harrell from 203 days of service to 220 days of service for next school year. To amend the contract of Kaylee Flint from 203 days of service to 220 days of service for next school year. we're asking you to enter into the following employment contracts: to employ Jennifer Cantonese Grimes under a 3-year administrator's contract as Pupil Services Director, effective August 1st, 2022 through July 31st, 2022, for 260 days of service. To employ Doug Baker under a 3-year administrative contract as North Elementary School Principal, effective August 1st, 2022 through July 31st, 2025, for 210 days of service. To employ Shannon Kriegman under a 3-year as administrative contract at South Elementary as South Elementary School Principal, effective August 1st, 2022 through July 31st, 2025, for 205 days of service. To employ Seth Hartman under a 3-year administrative contract as South Elementary School Assistant Principal, effective August 1st, 2022 through July 31st, 2025, for 203 days of service. To employ Teresa Solar under a 2-year administrator contract at North Elementary School Assistant Principal, effective August 1st, 2022 through July 31st, 2024, for 208 days of service. To employ Patrick Smith under a 3-year supervisory administrative contract as Physical Plant Director, effective August 1st, 2022 through July 31st, 2025, for 260 days of service. To employ Christina Welch as an intervention specialist at North Elementary School under a 1-year limited contract, effective the 2022-23 school year. To employ Ashley Cunningham as an intervention specialist at Madison Preschool under a 1-year limited contract, effective the 2022-23 contract year. To employ Christine Haymeyer as a certified occupational therapy assistant under a 1-year limited contract, effective the 2022-23 contract year. To employ Jennifer D'Alessandro as a certified occupational therapy assistant under a 1-year limited contract, effective the 2022-23 contract year. To employ Zoe Lowski as an occupational therapist under a 1-year limited contract, effective the 2022-23 contract year. And to approve a monthly athletic grounds manager supplemental contract for Patrick Smith, effective July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023. And then the following non-certificated person under a 1-year limited personal service contract, and this is for the 2021-22 school year. Eric Katko as MHS Drama Assistant Technical Director. And the following certificated personnel under a 1-year limited supplemental contract for the 21-22 contract year: Matt Brickman, head teacher at North Madison Elementary School, or North Elementary School, sorry. The following persons under a 1-year limited contract as preschool assistant at the hourly rate of compensation for 6.5 hours per day: Candy Moore and Amber Amato. To employ Janice Howery under a 1-year limited contract as preschool secretary at the rate of compensation of $12.93 per hour for 7.5 hours per day, effective August 1st, June 2022 through June 8th, 2023. And then the following persons under a 1-year contract as preschool instructor for the 2022-23 school year: Renee Lawrence. And then to employ Heather Lease as a second shift custodian at Madison Middle School at a rate of $15.92 per hour, effective July 12th, 2022. And then we're asking the board to authorize that annual salary notices be sent for the support staff listed in Appendix A, each under a 2-year limited contract in the position and at a rate of compensation as noted, effective July 1st through June 30th, 2024. And then we're asking you to authorize salary notices to be sent, to authorize and direct the treasurer to send them for the 2022-23 contract year by June 30th, 2022, to all support staff currently employed under a continuing contract as listed in Appendix B, all support staff currently employed under a 2-year limited contract as listed in Appendix E, all certificated and non-certificated administrative and supervisory personnel, and all board, office, and other district personnel who are not members of a collective bargaining unit as found in Appendix D, and authorize and direct the treasurer to include in the FY23 appropriation sufficient amounts to meet the combined value of all salary notices. And then finally, to increase the administrative and exempt employees' wages by 3% effective the beginning of the 2022-23 contract year. And that is the personnel motion this evening.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Douglas,
Yes.
Mr. Horvath,
Yes.
Mrs. Sensi,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Okay. And I think I'll have Jen speak here under the next item. So I'm asking you in the next motion to approve the following job descriptions found in Appendix A: the school-based occupational therapist and the certified occupational therapist assistant. Let me get the motions, and then you can share information.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
So I just wanted to speak briefly on the contract negotiations. We've had our OTs, our occupational therapists, and our certified occupational therapy assistants through the ESC, the Educational Service Center. We've been doing that for many years. They were not part of the union. What we have found in the last several years is that has led us to a lot of turnover in our employees. Since I've been here, we've needed an OT for every year, so we're probably on our fourth occupational therapist. We still have one position to fill, so when that was negotiated into the contract, that was a positive thing, and I'm happy to announce that those gals, I've worked with them, and the people that were at the ESC, we received all of their information, and so I want to welcome Christina and Zoe and Jen. They've served multiple years with the ESC through us, so I'm excited to have them. But we do still have one position that's open and posted right now. Thank you.
Roll call?
Mr. Douglas,
Yes.
Mr. Horvath,
Yes.
Mrs. Sensi,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
All right, and then the next item on the agenda is to approve a one-year agreement with the Schools of Ohio Risk Sharing Authority through its carrier Strassman Insurance Agency for property, fleet, and liability insurance for the period of July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023.
I'll move.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Douglas,
Yes.
Mr. Horvath,
Yes.
Mrs. Sensi,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Next motion would be to increase the superintendent's compensation by 3% effective August 1st, 2022, which is the same amount as was negotiated in our labor contract for our teachers. And for number 2, the board president and treasurer directed to execute the attached superintendent's contract addendum and then be made part of the superintendent's employment contract, replacing the current Section 4.
I'll move.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Douglas,
Yes.
Mr. Horvath,
Yes.
Mrs. Sensi,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
The next item is a board policy update, first reading. It's positive behavior intervention and supports and limited use of restraint and seclusion. This is a mandatory update so that we are compliant with state law regarding restraint and seclusion.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Douglas,
Yes.
Mr. Horvath,
Yes.
Mrs. Sensi,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
And then finally, under the consent calendar this evening, we're asking you to approve the contract between Danny Prater and Madison Local Schools to provide sign language interpreting services for deaf, hard of hearing students and their families for the 2022-23 school year. We're asking you to approve an addendum to the agreement between the Madison Local School District and Educational Service Center of the Western Reserve to add 10 additional days for the 22 contract year for Jovette Hiltonen, the Director of Pre-K and Literacy. We hired her directly for next year. So it's for this past year, we needed the 10 additional days. And then to enter into an agreement between the Madison Local School District and Edutech Group to provide technology services and personnel for the 2022-23 school year. per terms and conditions as found on file in the board office. No base rate increase there. And to approve the checklist of services from the Educational Service Center of the Western Reserve for the 2022-23 school year as found on file in the board office.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Douglas?
Yes.
Mr. Horvath?
Yes.
Mrs. Sensi?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Do we have a motion to move into executive session for the purpose of preparing for, conducting, or reviewing negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees?
I'll move.
I'll second.
Roll call?
Mr. Douglas?
Yes.
Mr. Horvath?
Yes.
Mrs. Sensi?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
We will not be conducting any business when we return. We'll simply close our meeting out.